talk about these issues, as you mentioned, the American church does need saving. Do you find that many people, though, within the church see that same thing and they agree with your assessment, or are you guys getting serious pushback on that?
I'll speak to it, and then anybody else can jump in. I think it depends regionally, Travis, because depending on where you're at, so I grew up in Detroit. I lived a few years in Texas. Those dynamics felt really different, and even the flavor and the traditions and the brand of Christianity felt very different. And so I would say, regionally, it'll feel like, Christianity and following Jesus is flourishing, and it's a part of your social identity. And then I think in other parts, we're sensing that in Chicago, you lived here in Chicago for quite some time. There's not a lack of visible churches, but I do think that there is a sense in which, like, the witness and the testimony of the church is less of a like, it doesn't add value to who you are in your social identity as much as it would in other places. So I would say, our assessment about the American church needing saving, our friends who are working alongside to help better the narratives around evangelicals, I think they would say yes, of course. Like, we see how evangelicals are being portrayed as a voting bloc and not as people on mission with Jesus. And then I think there are others who, no question, would say, what are you guys talking about? You're woke. You're pushing a social agenda. And so I personally have felt that, in the last 18 months working on this book and when it was released.
Being in Oklahoma and in Tulsa, which is the northeastern part of the state, we're kind of like, we're not deep South, but we're not quite Midwest. We have a lot of influence of Texas. We're kind of like Northwest Arkansas. I don't know. We're a hybrid here. And we also are a very multicultural city. And so I think one of the things that has been a positive for me is I can appeal to folks in my own church and in our community here. They just need to look around, and that they can see that around them there's a lot of very positive diversity. And there are a lot of Christians of color and Christians from different parts of the world, and then a lot of white Christians too. And there's and of all different ages. And so we can really just look around in our communities and see that there's a diversity to the body of Christ. And I found that has helped avoid a lot of the conflict and the name calling and the accusations of wokeness, which most people can't even define what that means. We've been able to push around that by not necessarily putting together ideological arguments, but looking at real people who are around us and saying, this example is your neighbor. This is someone and it's really hard to hate that person when you look them in the eye every day and see, a real living, breathing person.